In this lesson, we're learning about surface area to volume ratios. That's what that title actually means. And we are aiming to explain how cell size is limited and then eventually do a prac and interpret the data from that prac. So cells need to metabolize nutrients to produce energy, right? So they need to get things in and move things out. And the larger the cell volume, the more energy is going to be needed, right? That makes total sense. It's the surface area of that cell that facilitates the nutrient and waste exchange. We know the selective permeability of the membrane is going to allow things to come in and out. So the larger the surface area, the more exchange of nutrients can actually occur. So think of it like going into the sports hall. The more doors we open, the more opportunity you can have to come and go, as opposed to having one big crush to try and get out of assembly or something like that. So if we think of the sports hall analogy, we're in the exact same situation with a cell membrane. The more surface area, the more membrane they have, which means there's more places for substances to come and go and pass through proteins and whatever. But as the cell grows, the volume increases faster than the surface area does. So that means when you compare the two, which is what a ratio is, a comparison of those two values, the ratio starts to go down as the volume increases. Okay, so at this point, the nutrient exchange just cannot keep up because the demands of the cell get bigger and bigger. So that means that the cell growth has to eventually stop because it's limited by that amount of exchange that can occur. So it's really beneficial for cells to, as they divide, they have to remain small to keep this surface area to volume ratio high to meet their demands in that exchange. So one large cell can take up the exact same volume as 27 small cells here, but they have significantly more surface area, which allows those things to come and go. So again, same volume, very different surface area. And if we compare this in a mathematical way, we can compare those ratios really easily. So if we compare those two columns on the right there, we've got 5 by 5 by 5 and just one giant cell. Exact same volume there, 125 little boxes, but that ratio is so drastically different. The amount of exchange surface available with all those tiny little cells versus the one very, very big one is drastic. So on a larger scale, this works at the tissue and organ level as well. So the more surface area available inside your intestines means that more nutrient exchange can occur. The more surface area in the tiny alveoli in the lungs, more gas exchange can occur with your bloodstream. The more surface area available on an entire organism's body, the more heat can actually be dissipated to cool them down. So that means things like elephant ears and little rabbit ears and things in hot climates actually allow that heat to dissipate better and cool their body temperature down. This is the configuration of cells in the small intestines. And you can see that up, down, the way that the cells are configured, the way the tissues are configured allows for that more surface area, which allows for more space for those nutrients to absorb in. So having a basic understanding of why the surface area to volume ratio limits that cell size will make a lot more sense in being able to apply it to a practical and interpret that data.